Okay. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So the first thing we need here is, as I said, anytime you want to build something, you need to have a plan. You can't just go inside and start coding. So what are we going to have here? The first thing is we can have some target, right? So what is a target? It's a number that we can randomly generate. Right? When you go in a casino, there's a number that is generated, and then you roll a dice and then try to meet that number. If you match the number, you win. If you don't, then you lose, right? Okay. Then what else do we need here? We would need I don't know, rolled numbers, and for lack of word, I'm gonna call it rolled numbers. And then this would be number 1 and number 2. Okay. So this is how I plan. Usually when I code something, this is how I would say, okay, here I'm gonna have the target. Usually I do on a paper and using paper and pen before I do that, but here just to show you guys, since I cannot show you the notes, right? And then lastly, we'll have a button, which will just say roll. Right? So when I click on it, it will roll. Okay. But the first thing will happen is, and we can make that decision, right? How do we start the game? When you start the game, when you load it, there'll be a automatically, let's keep it simple for now, right? When you land on this page, we will first randomly generate a number. Okay. And then that will be our target. And then the roll number is going to be empty, right? And then you say roll, and it's going to roll both number together, right? You can have 1 by 1 as well, so it's more exciting, but here I'm just going to do both numbers together. So create 2 numbers randomly, because roll itself is a random, right? It's a physical, physical act to roll something, but ultimately it results in something random, right? That you haven't predicted. And then at the bottom here, we can say you win or loss, right? Right? Or maybe at the bottom, all the way here. Okay. What happens when you finish rolling? Because when you do build this kind of game, what happens when you finish rolling? Let's say you land on this page, you roll as a win or a loss. Then if I want to roll again, how does that work? Right? Any idea? What should be the strategy? I think put your design hat and think about it, like how once you have, let's say, win or loss, I want to play again. How do I indicate user that there's a new number, and then you can roll again and all that stuff? Let's see. Someone has, yeah, some sort of reset. right? You people say loop. Loop is also a good idea, right? You can have, so what a loop is, a loop is you can set, let's say you have an objective. It's all about how the game is, right? Let's say if you have an objective that you're going to roll 6 times, right? And then every time you know, you have a win or loss, right? And then right after the first one, it'll give you another one, right? Or there is a button, say, give me the next one, right? So the way we can do here is that we can have a button that give us the next roll, right? And that only gets enabled once you have win or loss, right? So let's have a button here. Again, I'm not thinking about optimizing. I'm just thinking about like a brute force approach here, right? It's not a proper design. So this button will now be active in the beginning, right? Once you roll it, it should disable itself, right? Because you have won or lost. Once you click on play again, it should then hide the play again button and then show the roll button, right? So this was a clean design. So let's think about the state. How do we want to manage the state? So the first state would be can play or not, right? Can roll. Let's have a state here. I'm just going to write in a comment. So I need a can roll state. Why can roll? So initially, once I have a number, can roll will enable the roll button, right? But once you roll it, can roll button would disable or hide itself, right? And then play again button would be enabled, right? That's because so if can roll is true, show the roll button. If it's false, show play again button. That's it, right? We also need win or, or instead of saying win or loss, we can say it, has won. So if it's true, then the user has won. If it's false, lost, right? Okay, we also need a number, target, right? We have defined a target. Okay. And then we would need two, number 1 and number 2. Right? Anything else do we need? Yeah, I mean, on click and all that stuff, yes. But in terms of state, so I'm just defining state right now here, right? Think about whenever you build your application, think about your state, the things that you want to persist in your application, right? So you need to define those states, and then you need to say, okay, because of the, these are the state that are I'm going to maintain, right? I think this is fine for now. Let's just start building it. Okay. So I can simply blindly import our use state, use effect, because I know I will need it, right, from React. Right? That's for sure. So I'm just going to blindly grab it because I'm going to need it, right? Then I've already defined all the states, which means I can start initializing those, right? Setting it. As I said, when you build a project, the first idea is to just get your homework done, right? Make sure what you really want, what is going to be displayed, and then the whole workflow. Once you do that, you define your state like this. So now you have something to work on, right? Then based on that state, you can start building the page, right? So let's build can roll. So which is pretty simple, right? We already know can roll set can roll equal to use state. What do you think is going to be? Is it going to be true or false in the beginning? Any idea?
False.
I would say, yeah, you can have a false and then have this button as play, right? And then once you play, then the roll stop, or you can say true and then you have a roll button. But either way, I think the false is a better idea, right? Because you always want to start with a clean slate, right? So let's have a false. Okay. Okay. Based on this, I'm going to build my first functionality. Let's call, what is that game? Is it a dice game? It's a crap shooter. What is it called? Crap. This is called craps. I think, yeah, this is the game, craps. We're not gonna build the exact version of it, but let's change this to craps. All right. All right. Okay. So let's have the play button. It doesn't make sense to have call it play again if it's for the first time, right? So we can call it play right now, and then we can think about it, because in that case we need to remember the state if user has already played and all that stuff. So I'm just going to call it play for now. Okay. And then we have a roll button, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say if can roll end this, which means if I'm able to roll, then I'm going to say can roll equal to true. Right now it's false, so it's not hiding it, right? Remember we learned about the conditional rendering. Conditional rendering is nothing but if the state is true, I'm going to render it. If it's false, I'm going to hide it. So the roll button is hidden now. It's a very common pattern, right? So you can say if the can roll is true, right? The button. We don't explicitly say it's true. We just say if can roll and this, which means if can roll, show this button. Otherwise, hide it. We need to do opposite here, right? We can say if not can roll. What does it mean? If it's false, then show this button. That's what it means. So because it's false, it's showing it. If I change this to true, then it shows roll. But initially I want it to be false, right? Okay, what about the other stuff? The target and then the roll numbers. I think none of this should be displayed if the can roll button is not enabled, right? Because if I can play, I don't want to show the target or anything like that, right? So but for now, I'm just gonna see what happens, right? And then as we learn this, we can tighten things up. Okay. All right. All right. So the next thing we're gonna do is figuring out the target, right? Which is very important. So const target set target state. What should be the value of target? Any idea? Well, E is not the value. Target should be, I'm just gonna leave it empty. When it's empty inside the state, which means by default, this is undefined, right? And it's an important thing to know. One is undefined, which means I have not played this game, which actually it's an interesting thing. If you already played, then there will be some sort of target, right? Or previously selected target. So this tells me, and we can actually use this to potentially decide whether it's a play or play again. Okay, we're not going to do that right now, but let's have an initial version, and then we can tighten things up. Okay, so we have the target. How does the, and then let's just set up the numbers as well for now. So we can say const number 1, or I usually like to say n1 set 1. And I'm also going to leave it empty like this, which means undefined, right? And then similarly, I can say const 2 set n2 equal to use state. Okay, so this is done. We don't have the has one yet. We're just going to leave it there for now, because building too many things in the beginning and then not using it, it's not a great idea. Okay, so let's start with the process of playing the game, right? Which means initially, let's say initially, the can roll is false, which means the play button is there, right? Which means if I click on the play button, I want the ability to roll to show up, right? So how do I achieve that? How do I have a play button, click on it, and then can roll is enabled? Any ideas? Yep, create a function, right? So we need to create a function, which in this case, we call it event, right? Handle. So simple on click equal to, and then we're going to create a handle. So I'm going to call it handle play. Okay, and then that is nothing but a function called handle play. Okay. Yep, and then set roll to true. which means when I call this, when I click on it, I can say can roll, set can roll to true, which means now I can play, right? True. So now if I click on here, it says roll, right? So now I'm able to roll this. Something else also needs to happen, which means I need to pick a target when I have ability to roll, right? Because as soon as I have this roll is available, I need to have a target. So I need to build this randomly generated number. How do I do that? So that's for that, we need to understand how JavaScript generates random numbers. Okay. So for that, let's use CodePen to do that. We're going to do things separately so that we can understand it, in isolation. So we can do some simple exercise on the CodePen to understand a random number. So JavaScript has a built-in function called random. Okay, let me first do behavior. Okay, so it has a function. So if I just simply say const, let's say const rand equal to, it's a library called math.random. And what I'm going to do is console log rand. I think it's a capital M, my bad. Right? What does it produce? It produces some number. Look at this. It's like a giant number, or it's this tiny number with giant resolution, right? It produces a floating point called. It produces a float. If you don't know what float is nothing but a, integer is nothing. Integer is, if you think of integer, right, is a full number. So 1 is an integer, 5 is an integer, right? A full number. Even 0 is an integer, and -1 is an integer, right? They're all full numbers. Floats are 1.2, 5.6, or in this case, 0.66666, whatever, right? So it produces a float, not integer. But what we want is an integer. Okay. What kind of integer do we need? We need a number between, because when you roll the dice, you have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You need a specific number between 1 and 6, because dice, I cannot have 25 or 0.66. It doesn't make sense, right? So how do I achieve that? A lot of times you just want to, do like flip a coin, right? You need something between, 0 and 1, where 0 is a tail. Or if you do, let's say, what else is there? What other, which other games we have? Let's say rock, paper, scissors, right? So obviously you're not going to randomly pick rock, paper, scissors. You can say if it's 0, then it's a rock. If you get 1, it's a paper. If you get 2, it's a scissor, right? So you're basically picking between 3 numbers, right? Right. So this helps you make a choice, a random choice. Okay. Disabled. Would Okay, so how do I get from this to something like this? So need to understand when I run random, right? When I do this, what does it produces? This produces a number between 0 and 1. It's a floating number between 0 and 1, right? I think 1 is excluded. You will never reach 1. I think that's what it is. Dot random JavaScript. I think okay, inclusive 0 but not 1. Okay, which means this is inclusive. This is not inclusive. Which means you can get a number which is like a 0.9999, but never 1. Okay, so you can produce anything between 0 and 1, but never 1. How do I convert that into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? First of all, if let's not do up to 6, let's do up to 10. So right now I have a 0 and 1. So if whatever number I produce, if I multiply by 10, what would I get? If I multiply by 10, I would get numbers between 0 and 10, right? So let's do that. If I multiply by 10, this number, and let's see what I get now. I'm getting 3.7. Let's run again. 5.9. Still between 0 and 10. You would not achieve 10, first of all, right? But it will be less than 10, but more than 0, right? Okay, this is good. I know I can produce something between 1 and 10, right? If I wanted to produce between 1 and 6 or 0 and 6, I can do 6, right? Let's do that. In this case, it would produce 0 to 6, but not 6, obviously, right? 2, 0, 5, 4. Okay, so now what I can do is I can I can convert this in an integer, right? And there is a method called flooring. What flooring does is it takes the number and removes anything that is after this, right? So 0.5 becomes 0, 2.5 becomes 2, right? 0.4 becomes 0, this becomes 5, this becomes 4, right? So let's do that. So it's called math.floor. So first we create the random number, right? And then I can say const int equal to, I can take the random and I can say math.floor. Okay. And then instead of rand, I'm just going to do int, right? So I'm getting 0, 0, 5, okay. 1, 3, 1, 3. Okay. So by running it 5, 6 times, I know it's getting me between, it's actually, the values right now is, this is actually giving me between 0 to, basically, if I look at the all the values, possible values, I can have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If I add 1 to this, right, then I would get between 1 to 6. Right, so I'm just going to add 1. Right, this way, if I get 5, it becomes 6. If I get 4, it becomes 5. Right, so let's run this again. Python has actually built-in method, which gives you nicely, but in JavaScript doesn't. So I have a 6, 6, 4, 3. Wow, 5 25s. Okay, so now I can actually produce, using this, I can now produce numbers between 1 and 6, right? So this is important to understand, right? What if I want to produce, let's try this. What if I want to produce 0 and 1? Let's say if I'm flipping coin, I need it. Head or tail, right? So 0 is, let's say, head, 1 is tail. How do I produce it? I'll give you guys like a few minutes to think about it. You already have the logic here. You just need to implement this and then run through this in CodePen to see if you can do that, right? And then share the code in the chat after that. I'll be back. I just need to get some water. All right, so let's look at All right, a few people already replied. Make sure you run it multiple times to know actually what is coming, right? Because it's possible that it may be going out of range, right? So what we're trying to do is we need two random numbers, 0 and 1. So it's like flipping a coin. And we can say like 0 is head and 1 is tail, something like that, right? I'll give you a few more minutes. Once you finish, you put your answer in the chat. Anyone? So this 6 is nothing but number of choices. Think of that way, right? So if I want to have 6 choices, right, 1 to 6, I'm going to multiply by 6. If I want 2 choices, which is here, I'm going to multiply by 2, right? So if I multiply by 2 here, then it would give me between 0 to 2, but 2 is not included, which means 0 and 1. So I don't really need this guy because this will make it 1 and 2, right? So 0, 0, 1, 0. You can see it. It's working, right? If I just do +1, which means it's going to give me 1 and 2, between 1 and 2. But again, 2 choices, right? Whether it's 1 or 2 or 0 and 1, 2 choices. So this defines the number of choice. If it's a tic-tac-toe, you need, this is going to be 3, right? You need 0, 1, 2, which means you can define whatever, which one is which. So you can say 0 is tick. Oh, sorry, not tic-tac-toe, sorry, rock, paper, scissors. So you can say 0 is rock, 1 is paper, and 2 is scissors, right? So you have 3 choices in that case, right? So this is number of choices. And this basically, you adjust the number. So in our case, we already know that we need this, and this will produce us a number between 1 and 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like 6 sides of a dice, right? I can actually shorten this format by putting everything in here, right? So I don't need this. Right, okay. So now that I know that I can do this, I can use this in my code here, right? So when I do handle play, I also am going to create that number call, let's call it random integer, right? Or I should not call it integer because it is an integer, but it's not any integer, right? So I'm just going to say choice or something. Well, I don't want to call it targets. Target is, you know what? Let's just do this. Set target, and then just pass this in directly. So, right. So as soon as I click on play, it sets the can play to true, and it also set this target to this new random number. So, and I can see it if I just take this and I can put the target here, right? So right now the target is empty. Let's start. If I play, target is 4. In this case, I don't actually, my bad. It's not, if it's a single roll, single dice, then it's this, right? I'm rolling it twice, right? Which means the target is going to be double than this. So I know this is a long code, but I need actually this. Right? So I can actually remove this and just say 2 here. Okay, so you can just type this in, right? If I copy this and in the code pen and then try this, let's see what it produces. I like to usually test in isolation, so I would know. So it should produce between 1 to 12, right? I mean, I could have made this, by doing 12, but I like this way because I'm actually creating 2 random numbers and adding them rather than just creating a random number between 1 and 12, right? This is essentially, if I keep running it, I will get some point 12, right? So I know. So this gives me simulated that randomness where I actually roll 2 dice rather than 1. So the target is something that is created by computer, right? So if I click on this, I will get a new target, which is 5 or 7 in this case, right? Okay, so we know that clicking on play allows me to set the target, and it enables the roll button, and then hides that the play button, right? Okay, so now what I need to do is really have roll. So when I click on roll, it should do the same thing, right? But instead of having one number, it should create 2 separate numbers, right? And that would decide win and loss. If the sum of those 2 numbers meet the targets, then I win or I lose, right? So let's do that. So for that, the roll button, this is where we need to add the on click button, on click, right? So I would say here on click equal to, and I can create a handle called handle roll, right? Function handle roll. All right. So now what to do. It's pretty simple now, right? Because when you handle roll, all you're doing is producing two numbers, number 1 and number 2. And each number is between 1 and 6, right? So this is pretty simple. Set N1. And we can take this. Remember, this was a +1, right? So this would be this one plus 1. Okay. And then we can have another one set in 2 doing the same thing, right? +1. So it does to 2 rolls every time it produces between 1 and, this would be between 1 and 6. This will be between 1 and 6, right? And this would be between 1 and 12. All right. And I can substitute these, but the numbers here that you see, this is so handy now that all I have to do is simply just N1 and N2 interpolation. So those actual state gets, so if I just do play and then roll, I get 2, 5, right? It doesn't match the number because this is 10, this is 7. So I lost, right? All right. If you have not, let me save this and then give it to you, just in case if you don't have it. I'll just put it in the chat. What I want you to do now okay, where is the chat? Can somebody send a message in chat? Just say something in chat. Anyone?
I did send the message. Did you see it?
That is strange.
I said hello.
Okay. Strange. Oh, okay, my chat is all the way here. The window is hiding somehow. Okay, thank you. Okay, I send the code sandbox if you're gonna open it. And what I want you to do now is, now that we have this working, right? The next step is to decide win or loss, right? So you have two things. You have the target number, then you have the roll numbers. All you need to do is, based on that, you just say win if those number matches, loss if they don't, right? So this one would either say win or lost, or won or lost, I don't know. Or you won or you lost, something like that, right? How do we do that? I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that. Again, it's similar to conditional rendering, by the way. we're not recording any win or loss for now. We're just showing that when you roll it, whether you lose it or where you won, right? We can actually extend this feature so that we can keep the history of all your wins and losses. But for now, all we need to do is just render here something says you lost or you won, and it's based on this numbers. So what do you think the logic should be? What should be this line? It should be similar to this, obviously different. It's a conditional rendering, right? Why is it conditional rendering? Because based on the condition of target meeting the numbers, we are rendering whether it's you won or you lost. Okay. Remember, compare it with the target, right? So how do you compare it with the target? The hint is if I take target, which is 10, and if I subtract 2 and 5, I should get 0, right? Or I can say if I add 2 plus 5 and I compare it with 10, if it's not matching, then you lost. Otherwise, you won. Right? See, in React, there are only a few things that you really need to master. Conditional rendering is one of them, right? Where you make decision of to render something or render something else based on the Boolean condition, right? Okay. Give you a few more minutes and then we can move forward. This is actually a pretty interesting game. You can add some animations and things like that where actually it's rolling the dice and make a full-fledged casino out of this. Obviously, you need to, if you build a casino, then you need to have odd in favor of the house, not the customer, right? So you can grab their money. That's what all the online casinos do, right? They don't have really this random function, like the way it is like this, because if you give true randomness, then everyone's got equal opportunity. But in this But if you go to casino, right, there you can have like a true randomness because you're rolling the dice. Actually, when you roll the dice online, they are faking it sometime, right? It gives you an illusion that you're rolling dice, but the probability of winning it is much lower. Anyone know what's the probability of winning here? Whenever you play a game, right, you need to know what is my odd, what is my odds for winning this. Right, and in this case, I have 12 numbers, right, and I'm picking one number out of this. There is actually one flaw that we need to make sure, right? Which you haven't seen it, but I want you to figure this out by yourself. There is one number that you will never get. So there is a flaw in this logic. If anyone can see it. There's a flaw in this logic. So like, would you ever get one here? If I have two dices, right? If I roll them, would I ever get the sum of these two? Will there ever be one? No. Right? Because the lowest I can get is 1 and 1, which is 2. So there will never be 1. So that's what the flaw is, right? Which means this logic is also there is a flaw in this logic. I need to produce between 2 and 12, not 1 and 12, right?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Initially, when you were explaining, you said in math random, the numbers are between 0 and 1, not including 1.
Right.
So here, 1 is the lowest number. So I thought that like 12 is not included, but 1 would be included.
Yeah, so let's go back here. So let's just look at this. Would produce, what's the maximum this can produce? 5, right? Let's not, so this can be produced 5, right? This can produce maximum 5, right? And 2, so 12, like that, right? Total. So if I get a maximum of this, and add 2, that's why I'm adding 2, right? If I don't add 2, then I will get 10 maximum, because it's 6 is not included. But if I add 2, so I'm adding 1 to each, that's how I'm getting 12. Got it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For the minimum, let's say this is 0. This is 0, so I get 2. Oh, never mind. I am getting 2. My bad. So it is the minimum 12. So I think this, this actually gives me 2 to 12, not 1 to 12. So the logic is right. I somehow thought it's 1 to 12. No, it's 2 to 12. This is 1 to 6, 1 to 6. So if I add the lowest and the highest, I would get 2. I would get 6, 12 here, right? Which matches this guy. Okay, so how do I do this? So this is pretty simple. All you have to do is you can say, I can actually create multiple of these. can say, first I can say if the target is target minus n1 minus n2 equal to 0, right? And n x2 u1. Okay, then if I do this, not equal to 0, then you lost. Right? Okay, play, roll, you lost, right? 2. Probability of this you winning is about 10. Well, sorry, 12. No, 10. 1 out of 10, right? Because remember, you have 2 to 12, which means you have 10 possible choices, right? Which means any given point you can have one of these, which means you can have 1 out of 10. So if I keep rolling, right, it is possible that I win at some point. You won, right? 2, 1, 1, you won. See? So yeah, about 10, 1 out of 10. So if you have $10 and if you keep betting on it every time on a single number, it is possible that you may win one time. Right? But what you want to do is, I don't want to show you won or you lost when the target is so what I need to say, I need to say, if target is positive, right, which means there is a target, right? If there's no target, there's no need to even show you won or you lost, right? So as you can see, it doesn't show anything until I click on it, because then the target is there, and so it said you lost, right? Because it is possible in the beginning there is no target, there is no n1, n2, right? You can also do, if you want to be more thorough, you can say if the target is there, n1 is there, and n2 is there, and then the target minus n1 and n2 is 0, then you show 1. Same way you can do this. So you have to build this kind of logic in your head, right? Which is very important, because otherwise, see, now I haven't rolled, which means it's not showing you won or lost. Before it was showing, then it would show whether I won or lost, right? Because now I have a number, 3 numbers, right? Then I can do the calculation. I can say I won or lost, right? So this is the right logic, and it's simple. This basically saying, is the number there or not, right? It's not empty. That's why I left this empty. So if it's undefined, it's going to be false, right? But if the number is there, if the target is there, if N1 is there, if N2 is there, and the target minus N1 and N2 is 0, then you won. Okay. Cool. All right, so next, also we want to do the same thing here, right? We don't want to show the target. We don't want to show the target or the number if you haven't started the game, right? So we can do the same thing here. We can say, if there's a target, then render this, right? So this way, if I don't have a target, it's not going to render this, right? And then we can do the same thing. If there is N1, and we just need to check N1 because we already know that it will be, it's if you have an N1, then N2 is automatically, right? Because we are building both together, right? So now it's a clean version where it says craps. When I click on the play, what happened? Yeah, it gives me target, right? I don't see the N1 and N2 yet. I roll, it rolls it, and then I get the message. It's much cleaner, right? Any questions? So lots of conditional rendering here. I think this can be improved, but initially I feel that this is a good starting.
So for condition rendering, can you tell us any site where like we can get more practice?
Yeah, so in order to practice, right, what you can do is you can have a simple button, right, like this. So here I have a play button, right, and I have a can roll, right? So start with something like this where you can say, I have this state called can roll, which is initially it's false, right? And then if I click on the button, it changes to true, right? And if it's true, then it's going to show this button and it hides the button itself, right? That's what it does. So in order to practice, you see a play button, and it's only displayed because of can roll is false, right? Initially, if I click on here, now can roll is true, which shows this guy, right? The first line. So it's what it's doing is automatically in React, there are two things. You take some action, right? What are the actions? Actions are nothing but when you click on something. So if I click on play, it does something. It changes the state, right? So if I click on play, it does two things. It changes the state of can roll. It changes the state of target. And I can use that information to hide or show something, right? So I'm using can roll and target to hide and show something. And then, when you add a roll, right, additional value of N1 and N2, now it shows the rolled number, right? But at this point, what I want is I want to take the roll out of the picture, right? Because I already played, I already lost. I want a new game. I want to play again. How do I do that? Right? So I can use this information. So play is when can roll is not available or false, right? But I can also use a target if the target is also null. So I can say if the target is null, if not target, which means the target is not there and that a can roll is not there, then only have a play. But once I have target, right, in that case, and then a roll. So now I have a target. So what I want to do is I want to take this and I want to set this differently. So if I have a target, okay, then, and I already have N1 and N2, let's do this. Again, all you have to decide is if I have a target and N1 and N2, and N1 and N2, right? Show play again. Okay, so initially it says play because there is no, in order for this to be displayed, user needs to have played at least one game, right? Which means target needs to be empty, right? For this. But after that, if the target is there and then N1, N2, which means user has already played, play, roll, and it says play again, right? Also, I can hide the roll as well here. I can do the same thing here. I can, where is the roll? Yeah, I can do the same thing. If can roll is active and I don't want the target or N1, right? I don't want, target is not there. Oh, target can be there, sorry. Target is there, but there's no N1 and N2, right? Then, okay, let's see this. It may look complex, but it's all state management, right? So play, you have a target, roll, you have number, you lost. There is no roll button, right? Because there's no need to have a roll button, right? You've already lost. Now, if I click on play again, what should happen? It should reset everything. It should say, okay, it should give me the target, right? And it should clean up. It should give me the new target, and it should clean up the N1 and N2, right? So here, if I clean the N1 and N2 up again here, so if I can say set N1 is false, instead of setting some value, I'm just saying set N2 is false. You're saying, why is he doing false, right? False means it's not a number and it will, you can easily catch it here, right? So let's do this. 7, roll, you lose, right? Play again, bingo. Now I get the target, I have a roll, I lost again, play, roll, play. What happened? Hold on. Oh. Somehow this. Why is it not? Okay, it's working, but sometimes it's slow. I don't know why. There's some issue with it. And you would notice that every 10 times you play, you will win one time. Because that's the probability, right? There's something going on here. You lost again. 5, 5, you lost. 6, 5, 3, you lost again. 10, lost again. Lost again. Why is it slow? There is some performance issue. I need to figure out why is that the case. 4, lost again. You see, it's what, 12th time that I play, and I'm losing every time. 7, lost. Let's see. Keep my fingers crossed. No, lost again. Lost again. 6, lost again. 11, lost again. 5, lost again. I'm not very lucky today, I suppose. Okay. I was hoping that I would win at least once. But it is, as I said, it's really hard to win in crapshoot because your probability is very low. If you're just flipping coins, it's 50%, which means half the time you win, half the time you lose. This is much lower. You see, almost there. 12 and it's 6, 5, so it's 11. Can't believe this. I should not go to the casinos. Not winning any at all. Anyway, let me put this. There's some performance issue, which I have to figure out why is this doing this, right? So React has a new version, and that somehow it's, or it could be the sandbox. I'm not sure what's the issue. Let's say, hopefully I will win next time, but not. There you go. What? Finally. I think 25th time also. Yeah. Okay, any question on this one? It's quite complex, but just focus on this, right? Which makes sense. When you build this thing, you start by building screens. So when you start, you can say, I'm going to have this screen, okay, and I have a play button, which means everything needs to be hidden, right? So in that case, the play button, which is this, right? What I don't have is I don't have a can roll, which is true. I don't have a target. I don't need to compare anything else because that should be enough, right? Once I click on the play, which means I get a target, right? And then that enables the roll, right? Can see, roll requires a target number and can roll, right? And these two numbers needs not be there, right? Because if I have N1, N2, which means I already played, right? So it makes sense for roll button to be disabled, right? So if I click on this one, I will get N1, N2 values, right? Which means the roll will disable itself. So this is nothing but the state management in a way, right? If you look in terms of complexity, this is very simple. All you're doing is this here, then show this. Is this here, show this, right? That's all you're doing this, right? So what you do, you build this 5 or 6 different screens, and then you can say, this is here because these values are not there. And then you create a state diagram, and that gives you this nice, I didn't go that way because I started with not planning properly, but I collected things that I really need in this, in the screen. And then I kind of brute force way of figuring things out as I go along, right?
So the recording of this and the others are available on.
Yeah, if you just go to YouTube, if you go to one of the videos, you'll find the YouTube channel. You would see all the videos by date, I think, or features, or just look at the release date and then you'll know, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you send me the link, please?
Okay, I'll do it right after this.
All right, thank you.
It should be in the also Discord. I go to Discord. In the Discord, I would see a video recording section, and there I will have all the recordings. And this is where I put the date as well. There were a few times when I did not have, I only have a few students, I didn't record those days. But then
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but I recovered, I taught that same thing again. Okay. So yeah, we built a game. You see how many lines of code? Only 40 lines of code. We have a nice game. It's a simple game, but it works, right? It's a neat game. If you really want some cool things you can add, I mean, obviously there are some stuff that are missing, but you can add some, rolling of a dice, animation when I roll, you can have some sort of animation here that rolls, and you can do all kinds of stuff, right? Yeah, but ultimately it works the same way, right? But it looks cool when you're playing the actual game, because you want to simulate that feeling that you were actually rolling the dice. Okay. But never play online casino games for money, because it doesn't use this function, the actual random function. So imagine if I play 25 and I won, in those games, it will be much lower probability, which means you have to probably play 50 times to win something. So yeah, they control this function inside. They'll never let you win. Well, you will win small amount, but then eventually if you play more, you will always lose. Let me put this also in the code example. So you can pick it up from there. Crops. Okay. All right, any last questions? If no questions, then next time, again, as I said, we have only 3 classes. So it's today. Let me pull the calendar again. It's okay. It's today. So we have 11th, 18th, and then 25th. And then 25th is when we do the demo of our final project. So make sure that next time when you come in, which is on 11th, have your project plan ready, which means you need to have, all these screens defined. So for example, if I was building this game, our first screen would be this. Then the second screen is going to be this, right? So that this transition to this, then this, right? And this goes back again to the role, right? So if you do this, right, then you can see what states you need, what condition rendering you need, and you can build this game properly, right? So I would, next time you're gonna present, if whatever you have, you're gonna present for each of each of you would present your game plan. No pun intended, right? For plan for your game, and then this way we get a couple of weeks to build the functionality, and then make sure that you don't stretch to the last day. And so bring all the questions that you have. How do I do this? How do I do this? So next few classes, we're going to discuss, your project, how I can help you to achieve that goal. At the end of this class, I want you to have at least one project working, something that you can put it in a resume or showcase to your friends, right? That I've done this. Because if you do this, then this gives you confidence. As I said, React is a very hard field. There's a lot of jobs available right now. So if you can conquer this, you can easily get, 6-figure job. It requires like a couple of months of practicing and building small projects, and you can apply for a job. Contracting job, that is, to start with, and then once you get more experience, you can apply for full-time job. All right. Okay. All right. We're almost there. So I'll give you like 4 minutes back, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.